Good evening, everybody. This is the South Texas Border chapter of the Texas Master Naturalist, and our program this evening is going to be by um, Roseann Bacha-Garza. She's a professor over at UTRGV. She's going to talk about ancient landscapes of South Texas, a geoheritage prototype for the Lower Rio Grande Valley. Um, Rosanna is a lecturer of anthropology and is the program manager of CHAPS, which stands for Community Historical Archaeology Projects with Schools over at UTRGV. And I've met her at several meetings and am always delighted to have her come give us programs, which she is always willing to do. And we're grateful for that. So, Rosanna, are you ready anytime?
I'm ready. Thank you for that introduction, Donna. It's always good to see you and everybody else. I see some familiar faces in the crowd, so it's great to see everybody. And thank you for inviting me here today. I'm going to push share and I'm going to push screen one. And then I'm going to open up my, okay. Can everybody see my screen?
It's loading,
Okay.
I think. Yep, we see it now.
You see it? It says Ancient Landscapes of South Texas, right?
Yes, looks very nice. And we are recording this for our Facebook friends out there, and
Okay.
it'll be up on our YouTube channel too.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So again, thank you so much for inviting me to be here with you today and to have the opportunity to tell you about the CHAPS program's latest initiative, which is called Ancient Landscapes of South Texas. Uh, we call it Ancient Landscapes of South Texas, Hiding in Plain Sight. It has also been referred to as Ancient Landscapes of South Texas at the nexus of natural and cultural history. And this is a project that is meant to promote geoheritage of the Rio Grande Valley of Texas. And some of you in the audience may be familiar with Dr. Juan Gonzalez and Dr. Russell Skoranek, who are very much a part of this project. And so let's go ahead and begin. Well, like I just mentioned, Dr. Juan Gonzalez, who I know has been a speaker with you, and I believe some of you have been out with Dr. Russell Skoranek as well on some tours of the Rio Grande Valley. And then Dr. Christopher Miller is part of this project, and another geology professor, Sarah Fernley Hardage. So we are the team that has designed, developed, and produced this new initiative that we are calling Ancient Landscapes of South Texas. And so why did we create this project? What was the inspiration? And the inspiration was to promote regional natural beauty, to bring positive publicity to our region, which we all know if we watch the news, sometimes we get a bad rap. We have some newscasts out there that talk about illegal immigration and uh, drug trafficking and things that don't make our Rio Grande Valley of Texas look well in any light. But this is an effort on our part to change all of that. And so that we can tell everybody about the geological, the geoarchaic, and the historical richness of our region. And so within this project, we have several different elements. For those of you who are familiar with our Rio Grande Valley Civil War Trail project, we are going to follow the same format, as that has worked very successfully for us. So within this project, we have identified sites of geological and historical significance. We have developed a map, a tourism brochure or tourism guide map of the region that we are considering a 200-mile trail between Laredo and Boca Chica Beach. We have a dedicated website. We have a mobile web that you can call into to listen to audio podcasts. We are developing educational tools for K through 12 education in the form of an augmented reality projectile point poster. We're conducting our second K through 12 6-hour professional development workshop on June 17th, coming up in a couple of weeks. And we're developing lesson plans and curriculum that align with educational trunks that the teachers can use and implement in their classroom. And we are developing those lesson plans with regional K through 12 teachers. We've got a Geoheritage photo book. It's a beautiful book. Hopefully I'll have time to show it to you at the end. We are in the process of doing a documentary film, and we are also writing a book for Texas A&M Press about geoheritage in the region. So here is our tourism guide map, the Ancient Landscapes of South Texas Geoheritage and Geotourism brochure. Sarah Fernley-Hardage was the one who initiated this probably 2 years ago now, with a more, I guess, a scientific look to it. But then we took her map and we gave it to our graphic artist that we used for the Civil War Trail. And he came up with this beautiful tourism guide map that has on the one side the 200-mile trail between Laredo and then all the way down to Boca Chica Beach and out to Port Isabel, and all the different sites and locations that we can find along the trail that I'm going to highlight in just a moment. And then the back of the map has some cleverly designed ancient postcards, or not ancient, but you know, historical looking postcards, and our mobile web and other ways in which that we can share with the community what we've learned about this project. So on the map over here in the front corner of the map, we have a QR code that you can scan on your cell phone, and it'll take you directly to the dedicated website for the Ancient Landscapes of South Texas Trail. It is through UTRGV that we have our dedicated website, and it's at www.utrgv.edu/ancient-landscapes-South Texas. And it's very easy to navigate through. And it's something that I encourage all of you to take some time in your spare time to go through it and learn about the different sites on our trail. So that is what the website looks like. And again, I'm going to talk about some of the interesting sites along the trail in just a moment. Then we have on the back of the map also here another QR code that will take you to the mobile web on that we have developed through OnCell. And what you do is you scan the QR code, it takes you to our mobile web, and then you punch in the number of the extension of the site that you want to listen to. So let's say you're driving along Highway 83, you're coming up on Rio Grande City, and on your right, you're passing and stopping at the Catahoula Volcanic Ash Formation, the 27 million year old formation, and you want to learn about it while you're standing in front of it. So you scan the QR code, you go to the it takes you to the mobile web, and you punch in 4201, and you will hear an audio podcast in English, and there's also written text about it as well, and then there's some images. And we are working on the Spanish translations. And once we get the Spanish translations done and we get our narrator in Spanish to record them, and we will upload them as well. So we're not quite ready with the Spanish version, but we are getting there. Then one of the first things we developed for this project was a projectile point artifact poster, and it's meant to be used as an educational tool for K through 12 education and beyond. We have a mobile, an app that is called RGV Points AR. And if you look here on the poster, this is what the icon looks like for the app. And if you go to the Google Play Store or the iPhone App Store, you just type in RGV Points AR and you download the app. And then when you get the app and you open it up, it'll ask you if you have the poster or if you want the poster. If you already have the poster, you can just point your phone at the app, at the poster, and all of these 7 epochs, all of these 7 historic and prehistoric time periods, they come off the screen, and you can pick whichever one you want to go through first. And all of these points, they come off the page, and you can view them in 3D photogrammetry. You can view them in 360 degrees. You can read a little bit about them on the app, and then each time period has a 90-second film that talks about what life was like during that period of time and things like that. So this is our educational tool, up to date in modern sense of the word, in 3D photogrammetry and augmented reality. And so we have developed this as an educational tool, and it is available. If anybody wants the poster, you can let me know. We can figure out ways to get you the posters. But if you download the app and you have this image on your screen, if you just need me to send you a PDF of it, it will work on your computer screen as well. So we've developed lesson plans and curriculum for K through 12 education. We have had a few preliminary meetings with 3 dedicated K through 12 educators in the region, one for elementary, one for middle school, and one for high school. And we have, through them, developed these K through 12 lesson plans and curriculum that are aligned with the TEKS. And what that means is that the teachers who come to our workshops and benefit from the knowledge and skills that we train them in our workshops, they can bring these lesson plans into their classroom and immediately implement them because they are already aligned with the Texas Educational Knowledge and Standards program. So they are not wasting any time. They're utilizing something that is designed specifically for Texas schools. So this is just an example of one of them. And I believe this one is a 4th grade science, life science or earth science one. That also is cross-curricular into social studies and Texas history. So within these lesson plans and curriculum, we are targeting social studies and science. We are targeting grade levels for social studies and 4th and 7th grade Texas history, 8th grade humanities, 9th grade world geography, and 10th grade AP US history. In science, we are targeting 4th grade, 8th grade, and high school levels for earth science and life sciences. We're targeting biology in the terms of native plants and foods, We are targeting geological sciences with regard to the landscapes, talking about the river valley and how we live on an alluvial delta, focusing also on the South Texas sand sheet and the lateral migrations of the meandering channel. And within social studies, we are talking about lifestyles and lifeways of Native American peoples, that human-land interaction between Native American peoples and the sources that are available naturally in the environment, as well as, early, let's say, Spanish colonial settlers and how they utilized local sources, talking about projectile point artifacts, economic change, like, for example, utilizing salt from Sal del Rey as a trade item, and how they function socially within the environment. So we have covered many different areas. We're still developing the lesson plans, and we're going to continue to do so through this next workshop that we have on June the 17th. With the lesson plans and curriculum, we have traveling trunks for K through 12 education. What you see here are items that are going to be in the middle school and high school trunks. We've not only got the projectile point artifact poster, but we've got native drums that were made by regional Lipan Apache tribe members. Some of you may know Robert Soto and his group. And so he made those for us. And then we have a source out of Virginia who made the atlatl, and the authentic looking one from South Texas, and the spear that goes with it, along with the what I call the atlatl for dummies, or the sport atlatl, which has an easier grip. That's here in the lower end of the image, with the spear with the rubber tip, so that the students in school, the K through 12 classrooms, can throw this in the, out on the soccer field and not hurt anybody. So, we have to be cognizant of what we put in these trunks. So we put something in there that's authentic looking, with the caveat that it's just for looking, not for using, so that they can kind of get an idea of what the tools that were being used during those periods of time. We're developing a documentary film. Dr. Gonzalez is very knee-deep in this right now, along with the rest of us who are helping as best we can. So we've got a local filmmaker. This is us out at Sal del Rey for sunrise, trying to capture some images, but we've had this filmmaker with us throughout the entire valley at all the different sites on our trail, so that we can create a documentary film, much along the lines that we did with our Civil War Trail project. So that's not ready yet, but we're expecting it to be ready by the end of the summer. Okay, so here's where I can begin to talk about some, not all, of the sites on our trail. And I'll begin from oldest to youngest, with the 43 million year old ancient shoreline out in Roma, near the Roma Bluffs. This is the image here is of the Roma Bluffs, right there at the historic plaza in Roma, and right there on the Rio Grande. And so we have this 43 million year old ancient shoreline. So what we know today as the beach in South Padre Island was completely underwater up to Roma 43 million years ago. So, and because this area was a beach, and because we have also evidence left behind of that in the South Texas sand sheet, clearly we have the development over time of sandstone. So I could try to explain what that means, but I'd rather leave that to Dr. Gonzalez, because he's the geologist. I'm an historian and an anthropologist, so I'll do my best where I can. So in Roma, we have the historic plaza, and in Roma, at the historic plaza, we have several buildings that are built utilizing stone quarried from this Roma sandstone large outcrop, and bricks that are made from the Roma sandstone were utilized in making many of the buildings in Roma. So Roma sandstone is part of the Jackson Formation, and here are a couple of images of what we have in our nature book or our geoheritage book. We've got crab fossils of evidence of crab trails through sandstone. Then if any of you have been out to Chapeno, which is an area north of Roma that you could launch a boat on the river. This is the area in which the Roma sandstone crosses the Rio Grande, and in historic times, when steamboats were going up and down the river, this is the location where the steamboats had to stop, unless the river was very, very swollen, which did happen one time, and one steamboat did get all the way up to Laredo. But these days, because of damming in the river, and many dams up and down the Rio Grande, the river is a lot slower and shallower than it used to be, much more powerful before all of that happened. So this is Chapeno, and you have people standing in the middle of the river fishing because this sandstone goes across. These are sandstone ripples that have fossilized over at Falcon Lake. And then these are mortar holes that were carved by Native American peoples out of the Roma sandstone in that region. So that's evidence left behind of early Americans or Native American peoples, or early Texans, if you will, and how they utilized local resources, in this case, to as like a mortar and pestle use. And then we have the Catahoula volcanic ash formation. This formation formed about 27 million years ago. It was a major caldera eruption. Dr. Gonzalez feels like it comes from the Sierra Madre Occidental in Mexico. And this was a major eruption that rained down volcanic ash in the region of that stretches from the interior of Mexico up through the Rio Grande City area. And then it kind of follows the curve of Texas at the Gulf, and it goes all the way up into Louisiana. So this volcanic ash formation is about 60 feet tall, about 20 meters high. And it's present right off the highway on Highway 83 in Rio Grande City. And so 43 million years ago, the beach was at Roma. 27 million years ago, the beach was at Rio Grande City. When the Catahoula volcanic ash was raining down and covering the shoreline and the maritime forest at the time, which was made up of palm trees, it killed all of that life. And over time, those palm trees turned into petrified wood. And some of you may be familiar with some of the petrified wood outcrops and stories in Starr County. And there are many locations in Starr County that utilize petrified wood as decoration for their homes, utilizing it for making fences and so forth. So Native American peoples utilized petrified palm, as you can see in the artifacts on the right-hand side of the screen. It comes in different colors, but the petrified palm as a rock is actually Texas's official state rock. And that hails from this region of Texas. And many of you have probably already been to Sal del Rey, but Sal del Rey is definitely on our tour. Sal del Rey is one of 3 salt lakes in northern Hidalgo County. And it was, you know, it's been here for thousands of years. And it was definitely utilized by Native American peoples for food, for preserving food, and for many, many other things. There's a lot of wildlife that is present at Sal del Rey. And for example, during the U.S. Civil War, the Confederates had control of Sal del Rey and were utilizing and mining there for what we call white gold, meaning salt, and well, cotton too is also known as white gold, but here at Sal del Rey, they were utilizing the lake so that they could mine salt from it as well. So one of the things I like to say about Sal del Rey is that it is a living and breathing entity. You know, if you look on the right-hand side of the screen, you can see there's a bunch of sticks or branches that were sticking out of the lake. But after a couple of days, you start to see the salt crystals growing and climbing on these branches. And so whenever salt is mined from this location, which it hasn't been for a long time now, it does reproduce and regenerate. So it's a very interesting phenomenon. Then we have the Goliad gravels, and that is these gravels, in particular, the ones that are in this image to the left-hand side, are gravels that were deposited by a very heavy and fast-moving river, or a very heavy and fast-moving Rio Grande River in, I don't know, maybe 16 million years ago. So there is a bit of a difference or a bit of a gap between what's under this section of Goliad gravels, which is the Catahoula volcanic ash. And then there's a period of time where this set of Goliad gravels was deposited by the fast and furious moving river through the area. And so here you have the Catahoula volcanic ash formation is cemented with these Goliad gravels, and these are called rip-up clasts. Here, this kind of triangular thing you can see through the Goliad gravels that are kind of now in this particular location are almost cemented together. But this is another thing that is hiding in plain sight. This formation on the right that Dr. Gonzalez is standing in front of is a gravel, well, hopefully it's not completely torn down by now, but last time we drove by it, they had a sign out there like free gravel, come get it. And the landowner, I think, wanted these, not knowing the historical significance of this gravel formation, was hoping to clear the land and offer people free gravel. I think he wants to build a warehouse or something on there. But we got there just in time to take some photos and preserve it, at least in our photo book, for future people to study. Then we have the South Texas sand sheet, which is in northern Hidalgo County and Kennedy County and Willacy County. You can see here on the left-hand side of the screen the different county lines here. So you have northern Hidalgo County here, northern Willacy County, then you've got Kennedy County. So it is a it is a location that spans at least, I believe, 60 miles inland. And if those of you who have driven, I know many of us have, who have driven up to San Antonio from McAllen and driving north on 281, as you are passing and getting close to, let's say, the Falfurrias checkpoint for the Border Patrol, and you look to the right and the left outside your car window, you will see a lot of sand on the side of the road. So you are at that point driving through the center of the South Texas sand sheet. And that's the location where you can see a lot of it. This image on the right-hand side of the screen was taken at the Kennedy Ranch. And there are some beautiful, beautiful sand dunes up there. You kind of feel like you're in the Sahara. You don't realize that you're actually in South Texas. So this is a very, very unique formation. And it is located halfway between the Nueces River and the Rio Grande. And so there are there's wildlife that lives amongst the sand sheet, like the diamondback, rattlesnake, nilgai deer are prevalent in the region, although they were imported as an exotic species a while back. But this is something that is very unique to our region. And this thanks to Mr. Vera at the Kennedy Ranch, who allowed us to go there and take these wonderful photographs. We have norias, or hand-dug water wells, that are present in northern Hidalgo County and northern Starr counties. This particular water well in the image is in San Isidro. It is along Highway 1017, parallel with Sal del Rey, but to the west. And these hand-dug water wells were built by people who were living in the region, let's say in the 1830s, the 1840s, and the 1850s. So there are probably some that date back to Spanish colonial settlers, but we're going to credit this one with Mexican settlers before Texas became Mexico. I mean, before Texas became the United States and was part of Mexico. And so that these ranchers who were settling on the land here needed to have water. And so they dug these hand-dug water wells to make cattle ranching possible for vast expanses of land without the presence of flowing water, rivers or creeks or anything like that. And so knowing where to dig, they were guided by the presence of phreatophytes, which are trees with long roots that reach the water table, like mesquite trees. And this is where they chose to dig, and then they would dig down about, I would say, about at least 10 feet, if not more in some cases, up to 9 meters or 30 feet. And they would hit the water table. And what they were digging through was caliche. And then they utilized the caliche to create bricks and build the structure that you see here. So this particular structure has water troughs areas all around it on the three sides, and that is where the cattle would drink. So this particular location is located in San Isidro on San Isidro Road, and anybody can drive up and take a look. Another part of what we focus on within this project are Pleistocene megafauna. And so we have fossils in the region that were found in the region. We have evidence of mammoths, mammoth molars, mammoth tusks. We have evidence from, or images from a dig that occurred in La Jolla that was excavating mammoth tusks and a mammoth skeleton in La Jolla in May of 1963. And so we also have a mammoth's femur that was snagged by a shrimp boat out in the Gulf of Mexico off of South Padre Island that was resting on the continental shelf. So when I told you before that the coastline used to be inland further at 43 million years ago in Roma and 27 million years ago in Rio Grande City, when and that was when climate was warmer. But when climate was colder, about 10,000, 12,000 years ago, our oceans were about 300 to 400 feet lower than they are now, and therefore the beach at South Padre Island would have been approximately 50 miles out into, the Gulf of Mexico. And we had animals roaming out there. So a shrimp boat had snagged a femur from one of these mammoths. Back in the 80s, when they were digging the Raymondville Canal, irrigation canal and drainage canal, they uncovered a group of giant tortoises. And so these giant tortoises are replicas of these tortoise shells can be seen at the Museum of South Texas History. But actually I don't remember. It's somewhere in Austin are the actual tortoise shells right now. One of the findings that they found was a nest with some eggs in it. And this fossil discovery dates back about 50,000 years. So and they are called giant gopher tortoises. And then we have the bison latifrons, which is the bison to the right of the image on the slide. The smaller bison to the on the left-hand side is what we would see today, and the bison latifrons is a much larger animal that was roaming the area about 22,000 years ago. And so that bison latifrons is about 8 feet tall, weighing about 2 tons, and was about 16 feet long. So, and you can see it kind of mimics a little bit longhorn cattle, but that's the way it looked back then. And what we have as evidence of this animal is a molar that was found in northern Hidalgo County and the northern edges of Edinburgh, and then some fragments of bones that were radiocarbon dated to 22,700 years ago. So we have this evidence of Pleistocene megafauna in the region. Then the newest, but really it's new because it just regenerates every day on a daily basis, are the algomats and on the wind tidal flats out near Boca Chica Beach. I think you can see in one of the pictures in the middle that we have SpaceX in the background there. And so these are they regenerate every day with the when the wind pushes the tide in, hence the name tidal flats. And the elevation of this particular piece of land, and again, you can see it off of Highway 4 as you're driving out to Boca Chica Beach, is roughly 3 feet above sea level. And so they're regularly flooded by tides. And they are, sometimes they're flooded, obviously, by tropical storms and hurricanes. But these, like I said, they regenerate every day. And so there's felt-like mats, which you can see very clearly in the image second from the left, that contain microscopic single-celled blue-green algae that are very prolific on these flats. And they are very most extensive on the areas that alternate exposure and submergence in regular cycles. So again, being out of the water, under the water, out of the water, under the water. So with each tidal inundation, thin layers of clay are deposited from this suspension. And this is what they look like. So the algal mats that develop on the moist surface, they commonly crack and peel from the underlying sand and the clay during these drier periods between the tidal floods. And you can see that, birds are out there. You can see the footprints of the birds that visit and enjoy being out there. And so this is what they look like. And I think if you are driving out Highway 4 to Boca Chica Beach, this is where you would stop, would be about 3 kilometers before the beach access. Then we have the oldest biological item in the Rio Grande Valley of Texas, the Montezuma cypress tree, sometimes commonly known as Old Monty. This particular tree is located on a farm, on the Metz and Waite farm in Abram, Texas, which is a little bit west of Mission and La Jolla. And so it is considered the oldest living organism in the Rio Grande Valley at more than 900 years old. And the way they estimate the age is at the maximum girth of this tree, about 5 feet from the ground. The farmer in this image, Joe Metz, is probably over 6 feet tall. So around about his shoulders is where they measure the circumference of this tree, and it measures 22 feet. And so they have calculated it that it is over 900 years old. And so this tree was originally on the river itself. And since time has passed, and the Rio Grande Valley being situated on an alluvial delta with sandy soil, we have a lot of river meanders that move. The river shifts and the channel moves after hurricanes and large storms. And this particular tree found itself landlocked. And this farmer has been irrigating this tree in order to keep it alive all of this time. So typically cypress trees like to be right next to the water. They need a lot of water, but this farmer has been very good about keeping this tree well fed. And then we have the shifting river. So the Rio Grande, like I said, is situated within an alluvial delta. And sometimes when in the past, before the river had been dammed, and the river was much more powerful and forceful, you would have a hurricane. And in the middle of the night, the hurricane, if it came through in the middle of the night, hurricane would come through, and the force of the water would break through these narrow portions of the river channel and then create a new channel. And then this portion here would break off and become an oxbow lake or a resaca. You can actually see that up here. It was the old river channel, but now has been filled in. We took this picture from a drone while we were standing here along the border wall. So this part, this is the United States, and this is Mexico. So people before, like I said, before the dams were created to regulate the water flow in the Rio Grande, somebody might wake up in the morning after a hurricane and find that they either have no backyard or a lot more property than they had when they went to bed. So in the image on the left-hand side of the slide is where Rio Rico is, which is a pretty famous story about this river channel, this river meander breaking off, and therefore changing the citizenship of people who lived in Rio Rico from being Americans to being Mexicans. But that's a whole different story, and that will later be included in our book that we're writing about Texas A&M, through Texas A&M Press. And so let me see if I can stop sharing here. So that's it for my presentation. Let me figure out how to show grid view. I wanted to show you kind of with the camera our, oh, here it is. Stop share. Did I stop?
I got it.
Okay, thank you. So what we have here, and like, too bad I wasn't there in person. You could all see it in person, but maybe next time. Or you just invite Juan to talk and he can bring them. But this is our book called Ancient Landscapes of South Texas. And it's created as a geoheritage book to promote the beauty and the geological and cultural history of the Rio Grande Valley of Texas. And it was created by our CHAPS team, and we utilized an award-winning nature photographer named Larry Ditto to take the pictures. And then we utilized a very, very talented graphic artist named Angela Scardino. And she designed the cover, and she did the whole layout inside the book. So what we have here are images. Let me see if I can. So we talk about different items of interest. Like this happens to be a meteorite that we have at UTRGV. We have the images of some of them you've seen, the Chapeno Rapids. Let me see if I can get a few other ones. These are buildings made with that Roma sandstone I was talking to you about in San Ignacio up the river from between Roma and or between Zapata and Laredo, and some of the buildings that are in the Roma Historic District. Let me see if I can find those. This is the petrified forest, the petrified wood that lines one of the houses at the historic plaza in Roma. Some images, more images from Sol del Rey. Let me see. And more images from the South Texas sand sheet. And then one of the other things that's really interesting about our studies and research is that we have the university mace. The university mace is the staff that the president is to walk into every graduation with that is representative of our university. So here we have El Sau's chert, we have those tortoises, We have the river being represented. We have the petrified palm, which is the Texas state rock. Our region has become an area for wind turbines, and the sable palm at the top of the staff is the only palm tree that we see here in the Rio Grande Valley of Texas that is actually native to our region. So this book has a lot of beautiful images. It does have some text, but it's mostly made up of images, and it's meant to be a positive representation of the Rio Grande Valley of Texas. So that concludes my presentation, and I'd like to open it up for some questions if you have any. Oh, thank you, Wendy.
I was going to say there's been some
Thank you,
positive.
Mary. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for the claps.
Yeah, there have been several positive. One question is the book available for purchase, and how does one order the book?
Yes, the book is available for purchase through lulu.com. And that is that's where we self-publish our CHAPS books, the ones that are not contracted by an academic press. So this one we published ourselves through lulu.com. And if you go to lulu.com and you search for a book called Ancient Landscapes of South Texas, Hiding in Plain Sight, it'll take you to where you can order it. It's not cheap. It's $49.99, but it is a beautiful book.
And
So
the link is in chat for the book.
okay,
Thank you.
okay, great.
Good.
Oh, yes, the book, Eileen, I just saw you ask the question. It mentions oyster reefs. That is another subject in there, and I guess I didn't put a slide in there about the 43 million year old fossilized oyster reefs. And there's out at Falcon Dam, you can see oyster reefs. There's I know Dr. Gonzalez knows where more of them are, but I know there's a U.S. Fish and Wildlife location that is not open to the public, so I really am not supposed to be promoting that. But that's got some very very unique and interesting formations there. They have a creek bed that is yeah, these are the oysters. So the giant oyster here is next to what you'd see today if you went to Mambo's or Papados. You see the smaller one here. So there's all of these giant fossilized oyster shells throughout Starr County. But I do know there are locations out at Falcon Lake that you can see the oyster shells as well. Oh, good. Yeah. I'm glad you saw that out there, Elizabeth.
All right.
Any other questions?
Well, it was very fascinating, and enjoyed having you again and seeing you again. And hope to be seeing you at some future events. Maybe the
Yeah. I'm excited to get back out in the community community engagement events that CHAPS has always taken part of. I know I saw Elizabeth at the Lepon Apache powwow, which was, she says, like, yeah, I saw her there, which is where she asked me to do this presentation. And so yes, we want to get out there, back out there in the community, and and see you all again.
Oh, very good. Well, the South Texas Historical Association will be meeting this fall. So I'd love to see if you could do that presentation.
Oh, well, is that the one that was supposed to be last year in November and then they canceled it?
Yes, and I saw one of the women. She's another archaeology steward, and we had a meeting this weekend. So, and also Palo Alto is going to be having their event there in October for Archaeology
Oh, okay.
Month.
All right. So can you send me the information for the for the South Texas Historical Association?
I will give you the contact person that gave me the information, and she'll be able to give us both details then.
Okay, great. And who is the archaeological steward?
I am the archaeology steward for this region
Oh, okay.
with
So
the
you
Texas
said you
Historical
met with
Commission.
somebody because I thought it was you.
Yes, no, the stewards from across the state met and had a meeting this last weekend.
Oh,
Um,
great.
just to report on the different activities in our area, and so yeah, it
Okay.
was a good meeting. But
Okay.
the lady that is from Hallettsville, gave me her card, and she was telling me that the South Texas Association will be meeting again this fall.
Oh, okay, because I went through the gentleman who runs the Alamo
Hmm.
Museum of History
Right.
last year, and I submitted a proposal to give a talk for that. But I'll definitely plan to do that again. We will definitely plan to do that again.
Great.
Absolutely.
I think it'd be wonderful to share.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
Okay. Does,
okay.
are there any other questions from the audience? Okay. Well, Roseann, as always, it's great to see you again and look forward to seeing you at other events.
Thank
And
you.
congratulations on another wonderful project. It is really great. Really
Thank
great.
you. Thank you again for inviting me, and I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the week.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
Bye bye. All right. We're going to go ahead and proceed with our business meeting. Um, I'm going to call it to order. And Martha is here, and she's been monitoring who's in the chat room or who our participants are, so she can record that for our attendance tonight. And I want to welcome everybody and thank you for being here for Rosanna's presentation. It was most interesting, and I really enjoyed it, and I hope you did too. So we will resume the business meeting, and I sent out the agenda, and with the agenda is the treasurer's report, which was attached. And I know Gail is here. If anyone has any questions about the treasurer's report, Gail can give us an update or answer your questions. If there are no questions, then we'll file the report for audit. And the minutes of the last meeting were attached. And we'll kind of do the same thing. If somebody notices a misspelled name or anything along that line, or a correction that needs to be made, we can submit that information. You can submit it to me or to Martha Jones, and we'll make any corrections that are identified. And otherwise, they will be accepted as presented. Okay, membership reports. Did Ronnie make it in? I wasn't sure he was here tonight.
Hello. Yes, Don,
There
I'm
he
here.
is. All
I
right.
had a flight delay, so I am actually on the
All
road,
right.
but still checking in. So for April, I'm sorry I don't have any slides or anything, any visuals.
Kind of hard to run from a car, huh?
Yeah, I was I decided to calm myself down a little bit to make sure I was safe. So for April, for last month, our membership was at 119 active members, so we are staying steady at that number. Our members put in 677.7 hours, volunteer hours, excuse me, and so at $28.54, which is the dollar rate for or equivalent rate, that's $19,341.56. That we, as a chapter, are responsible for. So thank you so much for that. those hours were logged by 47 unique members in the chapter. So it's just a little bit below half of the chapter being active. For our impact, we had 781 adults contacts and 919 contacts. And the chapter put in 51.75 hours of AT.
Okay.
And that is me. Any questions?
All right. Well, thank you, Ronnie, for making the effort to call in and give your report. We appreciate that. You take care on the road there, and thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you.
I know we usually have a moment for the class, but the class is over. All of our members got their certificates. They graduated, meeting all the requirements. And congratulations to all those. This is one of the first classes that we can think of where we had everybody graduate. We've had one planning meeting, and then we'll be proceeding with plans for the next class through the summer and meet some more in the fall. In the meantime, River, did you have any awards or recognitions to report?
Yes, I do. There is one. Seth Wolver has reached the 500-hour milestone. So congratulations to him. And I do have like 10 members that are very close to getting recertified. So hopefully very soon here, a few more after this meeting with the AT, and then some need some TMN hours, service hours. So I'm looking forward to that.
All right.
Congratulations, Seth.
Yes, congratulations. Good job. All right. Joseph, as webmaster, I know you've been busy with City Nature Challenge and other things. Do you have anything you want to comment on?
I'm looking at the stats real quick. It looks like on our website, we're having about just under 700 users. It says that's up 130% over regular. So a lot of that's because of Anita's blog. Most of that probably because there's not a lot else up there changing all the time. So she's bringing in a lot of traffic to our chapter's website and getting the word out that we exist and nature stuff around the valley to help people.
All right. Well, thank you. And Anita, you want to add any comments to that?
If I did, I forgot. So no.
Well, thank you very much for your continued efforts.
Well, thank you for those who read the stuff. Thank you very much and comment. I get a couple of emails every once in a while after I post that I've posted something. So that's appreciative. Thank you.
Yes, I always enjoy them. It increases my awareness of things I could look for that I might not notice otherwise. Like,
Good. And that's my goal.
all right. Well, we appreciate it. I do. Thank you so
Good.
much.
Thank you.
From the President's Corner here, our last President's meeting with the state really just went back over and reviewed material we've been listening to. Same announcements, so there's really nothing new on that front. But from the local here, I mentioned it in our chat earlier, we do need to fill our secretary position. Martha has been carrying on through this spring. Since the person we elected has been unable to do that, to fill that position, but she is going to be gone in June and July, and it would be nice if somebody could volunteer to take minutes at both the board and general meetings for those couple of meetings each month. We'd appreciate that. So I see Elizabeth Eddy has a hand up. Did you want to comment, Elizabeth?
Oh, I apologize. I didn't even know my hand was up.
Well, now see, I could have said, "Oh, I see a volunteer." Thank you so much, Elizabeth. I wanted to be sure. Okay, well, thank you. But do keep that in mind, everyone. If there's somebody who could take minutes for those few events, we appreciate it. Otherwise, we're kind of making notes and combining them as a group to pull together some minutes. And so we thank you very much if you could help. Another thing on our agenda, I think this had happened between meetings, and before and after a board meeting, one of our early members of our chapter passed away, John Marino, and I included on the agenda a little quip that we set out on our I think it was Facebook page, it might have been listserv, our Google groups, about his passing, and I just wanted to mention that. Like I say, that was John Marino. He was in the 2016 training class, and some of you may have come across him at some other events we've attended, but we lost him this last year. So, well, just in the last couple of months in April. So, if you knew him, you might want to go to the funeral site and see if you can leave flowers or comments for the family. All right, and we'll go on with that. Our state program rep, Kathy Ton, you know, it's just, she is still out at sea or whatever and enjoying things. And she did make a mention that Pierre was having some problems, some vision problems, and it was quite serious. So they were going to be looking into that. So keep them in your thoughts. But she had nothing to report that, you know, I'll be telling a little bit about the annual meeting in a little bit, but she had really nothing to report other than that. And with that, we look at the advanced training director who is forwarding AT opportunities. We're doing that upcoming TMM Tuesday. And when I looked the other day when I was working on this, they had not posted what the June 14th program was going to be. There is going to be advanced training opportunities at the annual meeting, which will be in Houston, Texas this year, October 22nd and 23rd. And with that, I see Susan sitting there anxious and ready to report on voluntary service projects.
Well, I thank you for putting those down because I've been out of the loop. I have not heard of any other ones, but I have not done any follow-up these last 2 weeks. So these are the only ones I know about. And then the ongoing Sea Turtle Inc.
All right. And I do know I do have some volunteers for Friday evening. So I think I've got that covered. And that was great. So I got good response from people. So we've got that arranged. And I've got another page of agenda here I need to pull out. Okay. The last thing before we leave, I want to mention, we'll mention the couple of dates are on the calendar there. But Joseph, did you want to talk about the City Nature Challenge and some of the results we had?
Yep. Let me start sharing here. Where is it? Okay, everybody sees that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so for the few of us that don't know what the City Nature Challenge is, it's a global competition or challenge to document urban biodiversity around the globe. It started in California several years ago, just between two cities, and now there's, I think it's 57 cities or regions participating. Make observations of anything, plants, animals, fungi, insects. Things get uploaded to iNaturalist. Let's see.
Joseph,
Mhm.
I think we're seeing the presenter view instead of the slide.
Okay, let's see.
So like we can see your Gmail and the
Oops,
presenter view
I
slide.
told it to show the other screen.
Well, you know, some of us have more practice at this than others do.
Yeah, yeah, I'm good at getting other people ready for this, not me. Let's see, stop share.
And
share.
Elizabeth Eddy has agreed to take some minutes for us in June and July. So thank you, Elizabeth.
Okay, let's try. That doesn't make sense. Oh, my window disappeared. Yeah, I'm real good at this. So I close it. Okay, well, I'm going to put that here until it's screen. Okay, do you see it bigger now?
Now we see your desktop.
Okay, how about now?
Now I can see it.
Okay. All right, so things get uploaded to iNaturalist. This is our how the whole global project is done over the years. I'm borrowing a lot of these slides from John Brush's report, and Jennifer's going to put a link in chat for you, and you can see more details there. This year, we've total of 445 regions in 47 countries. We started in 2018, back when there weren't very many. This is us in Texas. You can see most of the participations, obviously, in the bigger areas. 15 regions in Texas, identified over 7,500 species in Texas. And we ended up in 5th in the state with 1,868 species and 10,956 observations. And that's just a different view. That's our observers. You can see we did all of that with 187 people participating. And the next closest in species and observations was San Antonio. We did that with 21% of their numbers. They had 890 people participating. And here we are. We're very close to them in species. Only 81 species less. Globally, observers average about 25 observations, and they get about 1 species for every 34 observations posted. In Texas, the numbers are a little better. And then in the Rio Grande Valley, we average 58 observations per person, with 1 species every 6 observations. So what we lack for in numbers, we make up for in efficiency. And looking at the numbers or the different species, about 30 to 40% of the species were only documented once during this challenge. So you don't have to document everything. If more of us are out, the more stuff we see. This is just our numbers over the years. This was our best year in observations and species, and we've almost tied our first year with observers. You notice a couple of the square patterns here. Those are due to the obscuring. So people that don't want their location or endangered plants and animals, they don't give the exact location. So that creates kind of a square. And you'll notice out here in the ocean, those were really interesting to me. I was wondering what was out there. It's Bailey's ball moss, and Elizabeth got some Zizodis, and I'm pretty sure neither of those grow in the ocean. So it's just they showed up out there due to the obscuring. The City Nature Challenge is promoted by the Texas Parks and Wildlife through their Texas Nature Trackers program. There's a lot of data that they collect on iNaturalist, and this is one of the biggest BioBlitzes of the year to gather data. So this helps them understanding distribution and seasonality of plants and animals, and monitor things that are disappearing or changing ranges. And yes, this does count as citizen science volunteer time for Texas Master Naturalists. About half of the observations each year have been plants. This year, 1,025 species. Insects in light blue was a little higher this year at 33%. We had less birds documented this year, only 9%. And my favorite category, we had 79 species of arachnids. That's almost 4%, which is 0.5% higher than the rest of Texas. And one of the more important things that we document are the species of greatest conservation need. That's part of the Texas Parks and Wildlife along with those species that have legal protection, they have a list of over 1,300 species that are considered species of greatest conservation need. Includes rare species and declining species. 269 observations of documented a total of 50 species of this on this list during the challenge. Our most observed plants are Beerlander's fiddlewood, common sunflower, wild olive, Turk's cap, brown anole, and white-winged dove. And at least 21 of the top 30 participants are TMN members or relatives or good friends of the chapters. Most of those who made it to the top 30 in species as well as observations. The lowest person in that top 30 had 45 species. In the top, several of us, like me and Robert from the other chapter, we really kind of overdid it, but we had fun doing it. And on the next slide to show 10th place in observations was Christina Mild, but a lot of her contributions is identifying things. She did a lot out in the field, but she helps everybody else with identifying, especially plants. So she had over 2,000 identifications, which is more than the total of the next 4 identifiers combined. So here's the top 10. Obviously, Robert, me, John Yoakum, Seth Wheelever, Chuck Cornell from the other chapter, John Brush from Quinta, Anita, Elizabeth, and Seth's wife Candy Wheelever, and Christina Mild down at the bottom. So you don't have to go crazy to get a pretty good number of species. And we're not all overlapping doing the same things because each one of us has our own interests. Like I do spiders and insects, and Seth does plants, and people that do birds or butterflies. The more of us out there, the more things we can find. And during this challenge, I spent a lot of time out at Seth's garden, and the 3 of us out there documented 771 species in 4 days in his park. So just imagine what we could do at a big state park. This is not from this year, but it was identified this year. Seth discovered this in his park 2 years ago during the City Nature Challenge. It's a county record, normally found out in West Texas. And then he's got, this was a gall wasp midge, the little bumps on the leaf. One of the experts that is into those on iNaturalist contacted him to say, can you take more observations of those? We think it's an undescribed species. We don't know what grows on that plant. So that was interesting. And this spider that I got, I didn't recognize that he was different. It just looked like a wolf spider, even though I'm that into spiders. But it's apparently the first time that's been documented on iNaturalist at all, anywhere. It was obviously known to science, but not iNaturalist yet. So the more we're out there, we're doing citizen science, and it makes a difference. We're expanding ranges of things and learning all kinds of stuff. I learned so much from iNaturalist. I mean, a lot of you have seen my presentations. I couldn't have done that without iNaturalist. And then there's a couple of other BioBlitzes you can participate in through the year, as well as just go out and do iNaturalist on your own. Pollinator Week is late June. They're interested in flowers and the insects that pollinate them. And then in late July is National Moth Week. And we usually have at least one night of mothing out at Seth's, and probably several at the state parks as well. So that's it for me. Any questions?
Well, and I had a couple of unusual observations, but I didn't get around to posting them. We had other things interfering in our life this year, but I still got out and did a little bit, and that was relaxing to be able to do that. So, yeah, I would encourage everybody to get out, and you don't have to wait for an event. So, Thank you so much for that information, Joseph. I think our group does an outstanding job, and you talked about Robert from the other chapter, um, and how much their chapter contributed. And I was talking to him the other day, and we might pick out at one of these events and go together and do some stuff together. Like you were saying, think if all of us went to one of our bigger parks and took sections of the park and documented as much as we could as a bigger group. It could be amazing what we could come up with. So, anyway, does anyone else have anything to report or discuss or bring up for discussion? Okay. Um, next TMN board meeting is June 6th. Our next general meeting is the 20th, and Anita is going to talk on living with the natural world. Anita, do you want to say something about your program while we're here?
Well, everyone should be prepared to listen to it because it's incredible. No, it's actually designed. It was one that I gave at the flower and garden show, the home show in McAllen this year, and it's geared toward recruiting people actually, and it's geared toward talking about the things that are not on the A list of what we think we want in our garden, but it's understanding and not being afraid of what you might find in your garden. That's all.
All right. Well, I think for recording tonight's event, you can get an hour of AT for the program by Roseann Bacha-Garza, and it looks like right at a half hour, or pretty close enough to it to claim a full half hour or 0.5 for our chapter business. So thank you everyone for participating. Thank you, Elizabeth Eddy, for offering to stand in and help us with the secretary duties. And we'll see everyone next month.
And that
Thank
was
you.
an excellent wrap up, Joseph. Thank you for presenting that.
Yes, that was great. I was amazed at what all everybody got accomplished. Thank you. And Martha Jones, you have a safe trip this summer and enjoy your time with family. And we know the others that are off, well, Pierre and Kathy, but Pierre's having some issues with his eye. So think about him and hope that he does well with the issues he's having. And with that, we'll close the meeting. But goodbye, everyone. Have a great evening. Don't bother to go out to look at the eclipse. It's too late. But, but you can look for a moth or two. Thank y'all, everyone. Have a good evening.
Thank you.